Okay, so today I'm gonna be covering a new beta that came out. It's been kind of buggy the past few days, so I was a little hesitant to start recording stuff, especially since trying to do everything on Wurt's side would cause my game to crash. But basically, the other day for like hours, I went into the beta and I figured out everything by myself. There was no videos or anything in the forums explaining anything because I did it right as the beta went live, like 10 minutes after. So I was trying to figure out everything, and I figured out most of it. There were some things that I didn't figure out till the next day from people telling me in Discord or looking around a number of forums posts. Most people were actually, by the way, complaining in the forums posts. I think this update is great. I'm just going to showcase everything that I found out and some of the other stuff that I learned from others as well. You can find the actual stuff. So the first thing that I kind of showcase is I built a little area for it up here. It's the new tools that you can make, which is this right here, Industrious Merm 1 and 2. Basically, this shack over here is 1, it uses sticks and rocks, and they make an axe that just more efficient, I guess, at what the merms can already do, just mining rocks and chopping down trees. They also dig up the stumps, which apparently they didn't do before, so that's pretty nice. And the tier 2 house looks like this. I guess it just is probably a little bit better. You can tell the difference. It's a bit sharper, the rock on the end, and the ones over here, they're a bit more rounded. But that's all really here. They have to be within range of this thing. If you try and build something, if you try to build a merm house, what the heck? Oh, it'll show you the range. So this is the range of both of those things. And everything, basically everything else also has a similar range effect to that. For the communal kelp dish, this is what makes the merms respawn faster. So they usually take, I believe it's 4 days for one to respawn, or maybe that's piggies. Maybe that could be totally incorrect information. But basically, this stat, tier 1 and tier 2, you put kelp into the dish, which I've already done, and it makes them respawn a bit faster. So you can just have this built and then put in kelp when you need them to respawn a bit quicker. I'm assuming it's better to just use the upgraded dish, but you probably won't even need to end up using these because there is a much better stat where you won't really be letting your merms die at all. So I wasn't able to figure this out yesterday because the description was bugged, but that makes it so when your merms are low on health, they'll actually retreat from the fight. So your merms shouldn't even be dying. So instead of putting 2 skill points into this stuff just to get the tier 2, I would just use this. So that way they stay out of combat, so they just won't die. I think that's a lot better way to maintain your merm friends. Now the stronger stuff down here is the armory. So this is the base kit one you get from tier 1 and tier 2. I tested out the damage. I had them fight a tentacle. These little greenish hats that they get is the tier 1 variant, and it gives them 30% damage resistance, and it seems like they don't break. So 30% damage resistant, and it's infinite seems pretty strong. I could be wrong about them being infinite, but all you have to do is put in logs and grass, and then they'll make one for themselves. Now, the tier 2 version gives them armor that does 50% damage resistance, so it basically doubles their health. So anytime they take damage, they're going to be taking 50% less. So makes your merms really, really strong already. The next part, however, that is the upgrades for the Merm King, which are actually insane because they apply to you as well. For the first one, you have to give him marble armor. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Oh, so you give him marble armor, and it upgrades all of your merm guards, I believe. This is for merm guards and yourself. Upgrades all of your merm guards. There we go. Yourself. And I believe... Oh yeah, I changed the skin a little bit, didn't it? I believe this gives them base kit armor. I haven't checked the actual base kit stuff. Let me see if I can find it. So this is with marble on, and it still looks like the merm's taking 34 damage. Also, look, you see how he stays away here? This is because the ability, when he's low on health, he retreats. Although he retreats at a very risky state, like you get hit easily, so they could probably make it so they retreat at a bit higher health, or maybe it's fine being lower, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it only does 34 damage. So if the marble is giving us base kit armor, I'm not quite sure why it's not working, or maybe I don't understand this as well, but I do understand the other things. The other things I have tested a bit, and it looks like if you can do this one, you have to give them a crown. I figured out it was a Thulecite crown, and it says they will make your merms fight smarter. So this will make it so you can basically dodge, or your merms can dodge attacks. I believe you should be able to do it on yourself. I'm just not sure how you can prompt it to work. but if you give him the crown, there you go. Now, so your merms every few seconds or so should be able to dodge an attack. If I can find another tentacle, we can just bring another merm over there. I'll bring this merm to these tentacles. Come fight these tentacles. Dodge something. They're running a bit. Oh, you see it. They did a little puff of smoke. So it was like actual dash ability. This one ran away because it's low on health. That's cool. So here, he just did the dash ability right then and again. He basically just dashes away in a puff of smoke. I'm gonna try and see how often it is by just counting myself. It looks... Okay, that was like 10 seconds. Let's see if we can get it to happen again. A consistent fight. No, I think I'm just gonna say it's 10 seconds. That seems pretty... Like, he does the dash every 10 seconds. So that basically you can dodge damage. Having that on top of a merm with 50% armor protection with the helmet seems like it's going to be absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Now, the third ability that you can upgrade the king is giving him a strident trident. So the strident trident, if you give it to him, it says it makes it so your merms will attack with a deafness 3. So I'm assuming this makes your merms hit for 3 times instead of... So something is bugged with the strident trident right now. I do know that if you give him the strident trident, the trident in his hand upgrades and your merms attack 3 times. So do not try to give yourself legitly or fake trident. Just crafting one or having one in inventory crashes the game or disconnects me. I'm not quite sure why that is, but we're gonna move on. I know it makes it so your merms attack 3 times, and it... I don't know. I saw a post in the forum, someone was talking about it making Wurt attack 3 times, but I feel like that would be too strong, and I don't know what the activation conditions would be for that, so I guess we'll have to see for that stuff. For the other stuff that is important, I'm gonna need a water balloon so I can get myself wet to showcase it. Oop. Make a few of these. Oh damn, it gives you a bunch. So, for other skill trees, they make it so when you are wet, you get sanity back over time, and the more wet you are, longer it'll restore your sanity. I believe it's like insanity every few seconds. I wasn't able to test this exactly. This next stack makes it so when you're wet, your body temperature is a lot more maintainable, so you won't freeze as easily. I don't have this selected, so I am currently freezing, but I'm also in God mode because I had to select all this other stuff to try out these things. In terms of the protection, when you have maximum protection, it will basically be considered armor. So your wetness is converted into armor, which can basically just be extra health. So basically, if you have 250 health and then an extra 100 health, however, the wetness isn't a 1-to-1 ratio, so every 1 point of damage you take, it's about 1.5 of the wetness. I was testing this yesterday on stream. So if you take 30 damage, it's going to get rid of 45 of your wetness. So it seems like it's strong, but I don't know if it's too worth it. It's just like a bunch of free health, and I don't know if armor affects it. So I'm gonna say that it's possibly good. We'll have to see in the long run. It seems like the best perks are going to be in the middle of the tree, so having any to put into Amphibian will just be purely playstyle preference. I don't know about the tier 1, I just tested it out at maxed, and for the max of this one, it makes it so you restore 1 HP every 15 seconds. I don't think that's really much. I don't think that's worth it. They'd have to significantly buff that. But maybe if you're going to be doing combat while you're doing it, it would be too strong. So I guess do that. You can test it out. If you like it, then you can use it. I personally not a huge fan of it. The other stuff that I have yet to showcase, these are the unique crafts that you get. So the first item makes it so when you hold it in your inventory, mosquitoes will not attack you. So mosquitoes will be nice to you. And the other ones are the second tier, which makes it so you can craft these 3 things here. I'll explain what they do in a second. This third tier just makes it so the crafts, these 3 crafts, are basically just superior. So this version, I believe it drops 3 mosquitoes. However, if you have the tier 2 version, it drops 6. Yeah, 6. So it levels it basically. So this is just a mosquito patch. If you throw these, they shouldn't attack you or your friends, and they'll help fight for you. I don't know why you'd need mosquitoes to fight for you, since you have merms, but maybe they could be good distractions for your merms, I guess, for targeting purposes. The next craft, this is basically a little bit weaker than Wormwood's compost wrap, but they said it's similar to Galomer's goop, and they never said what the second tier of this would be, but I'm gonna assume that it makes it a bit better than Glommer's Goop because it's the upgraded version. I actually have no clue what the stats do. I've been holding on it. It doesn't really examine anything yet because the Show Me mod isn't really updated for this stuff, so I'm not sure. As for this though, I have figured out what this does, only at the second tier, so this could be different. It could be different, but basically what this does, it's really cheap to craft. It's called the Bloodshot. Really cheap to craft. It's just two mosquito sacks, and I'm sure you'll get tons of those if you're in the swamp. There's 2 right there, and it gives you 16 health. So you have 16 health on yourself, and then it heals you over time. So if I go out of God mode here, you'll see 16 health, and then it gives you an extra 10 HP over time. So in total, it's 26 health, which is insanely good for only 2 mosquito sacks, considering the salve is quite expensive to craft. And it's almost as good as the other healing item, which is the honey poultice. So it seems pretty good. However, the really good use for it is it heals your merms 150 health. I've tested it on a guard merm if I can find someone with low health. I don't think I really need to because I memorized it earlier, but you basically give it to one of your merms, it'll give them 100 health, and then over the next few seconds, it'll tick for 5 HP, up to an extra 50. So each bloodshot gives your merms 150 health back. So if you can make just a ton of those, farm a bunch of mosquitoes, because you're going to see plenty of mosquitoes in all of the areas anyways. So I think just maybe over time, you collect a bunch of mosquito sacks so you can heal your merms. So the other stat is this one. This makes it so if you are near Wurt, friends move faster on the swamp. The swamp isn't even really as fast as cobblestone, so this seems like a very useless ability unless they were to buff her speed on the marsh so it was faster than cobblestone. Then you can actually benefit your friends, but even then it would only be near them, so cobblestone will still probably be the superior one. The ones that I want to focus on, though, are the increasing the king's hunger, because this was always a huge thing. I used to have a Wurt player or friend on my server, and we'd always have to play without them sometimes, and they'd be like, feed the king, because his hunger goes down. If it goes down, then the king dies, and it's kind of annoying. So, especially now you're going to be giving them upgrades, you don't want them to die. Sure, I'm pretty sure it does drop the stuff, but it's still a pain. But basically, what this does, the first tier makes it so his maximum hunger goes from 200 to 250, and then at the second tier makes it go from 250 to 300. So you get 100 extra health just with these 2 tiers. And this third one makes it so he digests the food slower. So that means not only do you have 300 health, so 100 extra health than what you used to have, he also loses hunger way slower. So you can have Wurt and your merms buffed for way longer than before. You could probably go through an entire ruins clear now with your merms, because before it was like 7 days with only 200 hunger, but 300 hunger plus slower digestion, you could definitely spend like the whole summer clearing the ruins with just Wurt. So that might be a new meta that arises. So the final abilities I'm going to have to go through separately. So basically the first one lets you feed your merms, normal merms or merm guards. You get to feed them glass, and it will turn them into lunar variants, and then you can give them pure brilliance so they have planar damage. So that's pretty insane already, considering that they have 660 health. If we can get a merm guard over here, hold on, I'm going to need some kelp actually. That was 1 kelp, it befriended all of them, that's crazy. Alright, anyways, feed them glass, they turn into their lunar variant, in which they now have 700 health, I believe, if they would hit something. 700 health. I didn't want them to kill this one, but they have 700 health, and they have an AoE damaging effect. So if they get hit at all, you'll see, it does AoE damage. Wait, did that do 94? That would be crazy. Hold on. We have the audio muted in-game, by the way, because there's just so much sounds going on, and I don't want it to be too distracting. Let's get them to fight again. So it's 25 damage AoE every time they get hit. So not only do they have 700 health, if they have a helmet on, they take 50% less damage, and when they get hit, they do an extra 25 damage. So they're just absolutely insane merms. Okay, we go right here, wait for the merms to come. There. And basically all you gotta do is Marshify. It has a long cooldown, so don't be misclicking it, but there you go. It creates an entire battlefield for you, and it instantly applies in a huge radius. All of your merms become lunar merms, and they have pure brilliance applied to them. It also transforms the entire area into a lunar biome, kind of like the lunar island. So now you have basically Gestalt, so that will hit you, and you have lunacy. This is a temporary area, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But you get the speed boost on the marsh already for Wurt, so this will be just a huge fighting arena. Wurt is going to become just the queen of everything. She has merms that can mine down trees and rocks and dig up the things. She has the ability to have merms that fight better and do planar damage, and she has the ability to fight herself and do extra damage. So she's just going to be absolutely insane. I believe I'll showcase you the Nightmare variant here in a second. So the testing basically for the Shadow area is it spawns shadow tentacles on occasion, and when the merms die, they turn into a bit of a shadow merm, and that's all I could really tell. They seem underwhelming compared to the lunar side, because the lunar side has a cool transformation and stuff like that, and obviously that's cool, but I really can't even tell what the shadow side does completely, so that's a whole different thing to do with. That's pretty much it for her skill tree, though. I think I've covered basically everything. Hopefully I end up summarizing it into way shorter than what I did here, but everything is showcased here or explained at some point. Now for the other stuff. So the first thing we're going to test out for Winona is her new remote. On the first part of the skill tree, you can craft this remote, and it also makes it so you can dismantle your machines. I thought this was going to be base kit. I guess it kind of is, because you have to do this ability to go to the rest, but it feels like they should have just made that base kit without this, so that way new players can still dismantle stuff. And this ability also makes it so the remote can recharge near the generators, and this just makes it recharge a bit quicker. This one also makes it so, this should also be base kit, honestly. Makes it so generators no longer consume energy while they're not being used, and machines that connected to them not consume energy while they're in sleep mode. So that's pretty nice. This one just makes it so the spotlight has a larger area, and this one just makes it so it gives off heat. So for this to work, you have to learn this skill. So I learned precision targeting, which makes it so you can open up your little remote and it unlocks this ability, target. And so all of these selected catapults will now basically work for this. I don't think the other ones are in range of the generator, but don't mind that. Oh wow, that's pretty quick. I'm gonna click as fast as I can. So this is with the 5% increased firing rate. Then it can be increased by 10%, and then increased by 20%, in which you can also have an increased firing rate for a short period of time. I don't know how much this is, but this should be the maximum firing rate. So let's see what it looks like now. Rapid fire. Maybe there has to be something to kill here. It needs to be targeted. I forgot I was not in God mode. Okay, so basically what happens here is you can only target things. The catapult obviously has to be powered up, right? But the remote, the outer circle has to have the entire circle inside. You see how it lights up? That means the catapult is in range. The other ones aren't powered by the machine. However, this is the maximum targeting speed. So it is very quick. And the rapid fire seems like it just auto fires when you select it. So that is fine. I'm going to figure out what this other ability is. This top one right here makes it so the damage is a larger radius. So you can have it up to be 100% larger damage radius. And all catapults within range... Oh, sorry, not that one. This one makes it so the efficiency of the generators can be boosted up to 100%. So they last way longer, which is fantastic. So basically, the next tier is all Shadow Aligned and Lunar Aligned, aka Wagstaff. So this one lets it so you can make Nightmare Fuel as a fuel source for the generator, not the generator. So you can use Nightmare Fuel, and then this one allows you to use Pure Horror. And I believe when you are using these items, it would let me. You can overcharge it. I'm not, maybe it's just with Nightmare Fuel. The Nightmare Fuel can overcharge it as well. Pure Horror just double overcharges it. Pure Horror just like double overcharges it. I'm not quite sure what the overcharge means when it's overcharged like this. Maybe it increases the damage, but when you unlock both of these, you get to unlock Shadow Strike, and you can use this to target a shadow infused catapult attack. So the catapults by default do 42 damage, as you can see here. Oh, it was too close. There we go, 42 damage. However, the shadow ones do only 17, and I'm assuming that's because not it counting the planar damage. I figured it would count the planar damage, but maybe it's 17 planar damage if I compare it to these. So let's test this. 13. What? 15. Wait, why is it only doing 17 damage? Why would you want to charge it up if it, like, I don't understand. Maybe I overdid it. Overcharged it too much. Let me try a default one. So, let me do a generator that is not overcharged too much, at least. That's a generator. Oops. So this will not do what I'm trying to do. Oh, planar strike. Okay. Oh, can it only do it if it's like this? Here we go. Now, let's do it. So you can only do it if you put pure horror into it. For the planar strike, I'm not going to be able to test the damage. Let's get to the Charlie stuff, though. This is the interesting stuff. So Charlie, you can craft these goggles. This is a new HUD, basically, you get for looking through it. But what you can do with these goggles is you can closely examine it to spawn a dark vestige on it. So you can do this about every half day, and it lets you pick the flower, and you now have a fragile rose. And what this rose does is, here, let me get myself out of God mode. I'll show you exactly what the rose does. So Charlie will prevent you, basically, from dying. You get resurrected by Charlie, and it even says that here, which is insanely cool. Basically have a totem of undying on you with the flower, which is really neat. Another thing you can do is if you inspect other things, it's on cooldown now, but if you inspect other things, you can get nightmare fuel. And then if you inspect, I was inspecting the ancient gateway and the pseudoscience machine, and it was giving me pure horror. So I'm assuming if you inspect things in the ruins, it'll give you pure horror, and then any other shadow aligned thing will give you nightmare fuel. They said in the patch they released today that it was going to be entirely based off of if it's shadow aligned, it can be scanned. So Charlie can basically farm nightmare fuel with these goggles. So the other ability lets you basically inspect things, but it lets you inspect certain edges of water to create a temporary vine bridge. And I have no clue what this is for, but it seems like it's to let you go over small gaps, although it has a 4-minute cooldown for half the day, and I couldn't even get it to work here. Oh wait, I think I could have gotten it to work. Perhaps. Give me a second. I'll test it out again. Okay, I'm going to test out the closely examine again to see if it will get across this gap. And so it seems like it's not very controllable. I can't walk to extend it at all. And it's just temporary. I am not sure of the purpose of that. If it made it so you could just control it whenever you want, that would be great. But it seems a little buggy at the moment. Okay, so the next part of Charlie's skill tree, or the final one, is obviously the Enlightened Strike, which I assume is the same thing as the Shadow Strike, but I'm assuming it's also bugged, so I'm not going to show that out. The Generator basically lets you put Pure Brilliance into the Generator, and you can put in Enlightened Crown Shards to power it. So it is almost infinite power, but I believe there's an overcharge thing that prevents you from doing it, so if you spam it too much, it'll overcharge it. The other thing is this device that you can put on your head, and it helps you track down cache boxes. And then if you have the tier 2 version, it basically makes it so you can find advanced cache boxes, which you can find blueprints to make other crafts. So I'll show you how it works. You put it on your head, and then you wait for this thing to do this thing. I think I passed it. Yes, there it is. So you do this, and then out pops a scrap, so she can actually farm scrap, and you get these extra bits called doohickeys, and I believe there's also gizmos. And the gizmos and stuff you use to make the Winbot. The Winbot is, or this is doohickeys. The Winbot is basically a smaller portable version of Wobot, and it is rechargeable at your stations. And then you can also craft the Portasol, which you need the gizmos for. However, to get these actual crafting pieces, you need to scan stuff with the calibrated perceiver. You don't want to drop gizmos. Anything that flickers on the ground, you don't want to drop because they will disappear. So you need to make sure they're in a chest, or you're holding onto them somehow. They're kind of like the Wagstaff event. This is actually from the Wagstaff event, so you need to find stuff that you can research to actually unlock this stuff. I have also just found out, because I was trying to figure out stuff to scan, that if you scan an item that you don't have prototyped, like this, you will actually unlock the prototype. So I believe if I were to look up electrical doodads, yep, I have it prototyped now. So I've never been to a science machine, but it will let me craft it. Actually, oh wait, use the calibrated perceiver. You want to use it wisely, but you can use it to craft this stuff, I'm assuming you can also use it to like monitor this other stuff. So once you unlock the blueprints or the recipes to craft this stuff, all you have to do is be in range and be holding a portal, and you can basically teleport back. And this will also teleport items underneath you with you. So basically you do this. Oh, it teleported to the other one. I guess the other one wasn't powered, so that makes sense. But all the items you can see, they came with me. So that is pretty cool. And its range is okay, but it feels like it's definitely got some improvement to do, because that range is very minimal. If we go far enough away, I'm assuming like here it won't work anymore. Oh, wait. Oh, it actually does work. Wait, what? What about across? I feel like this should just be able to work across the map for it to be really useful. If you want it to be extremely useful, it should be cross map. Let's see how far I can go. It's probably not this far. So now it will not work. It is too far. So the range seems to be a little, it needs a buff, because while it does look like I'm far away right now, this is how far away I am from the portal. I am not that far. The teleport is not that good. It's a little bit, maybe like one biome. Well, I guess that's multiple, but the biomes are a little bit weird right there. So it seems like it's not the best. Could definitely use some improvements. There is one more thing that they can craft. Actually, I believe that's it. There's supposed to be something else. The prototype from the calibrated perceiver and the teleporting thing. I believe you also get the Winbot thing. You have to get this by scanning Wobot, at least with the calibrated perceiver, because that would make the most amount of sense, because the Winbot's like a tiny version of Wobot. I also haven't used much of Wobot, but I know that this will probably be pretty nice, the fact that you can have a bunch of mini versions of it. I like that we're getting them automated stuff, and it makes sense for Winona to have this craft, so it's pretty decent. It doesn't look like there's much else for Winona though in terms of crafts. It looks like it's just Winbot, the teleporter thing, and that's pretty much it. The glasses give you the Fragile Rose and the Vine Bridges and Nightmare Fuel and Pure Horror, and then this seems to give you prototypes that you don't have, and then possibly a portal, Winbot, and the teleportation station. This basically means you have to have everything attached. Everything is powered, and then you'll get the loot from inside of it. So calibrated perceiver and everything like this. Dual-side crown. I want to see if it can scan something like that. So no, let me disable this mode. Let's disable God mode. It's already disabled. Let's try to scan this. No, it will not let us scan it, sadly. But basically, you get a piece of a portal, and then you can scan it with the calibrated perceiver, and same with the umbrella. It seems like it's bugged or it's not working, or I'm just getting really unlucky, but that's how you get the recipes, and scanning Wobot gives you the Winbot. There you go. That's basically everything for Winona. I don't think there's much else to cover in the skills tree. So now I'm going to showcase the other stuff. This is something they obviously teased during the dev live stream. Oh, but I have myself really quick. This is something they teased during the dev live stream, but otters are now in the game. They are passive, I believe, until you attack them, and they just collect items and they bring them back to their cave, and you can kind of rummage through it to get items, just like you can with caccoons. I don't think they have much purpose. When you kill them, they drop one big meat and a morsel, so maybe some sort of food farm. I think they're just cute, though. They're called marauders, and it's a good addition for just filling in natural enemies. It's like bunnies have some use, but at the end of the day, they're just there. And I guess we don't really have to complain about them too much. So the next part here is just showcasing the trees. The trees seem to only like being on rocky turf or marsh turf, depending on the type of tree. So if it is the night vision tree, it needs to be on marsh turf, and if it is the geo tree, it needs to be on rocky turf. I spent like 2 hours trying to figure out the growth times for all this, and they seem to only, like, if they're not growing during a certain season, they take forever. So even if it's on its correct turf, just for it to reach the sapling state from the seed state, it takes 20 days for them to grow there. And then I kept fast tracking. I went about 150 to 180 days until the trees were entirely grown, which is over 2 in-game years, which is absolutely insane. Now this was, I believe, out of season, so I'm going to test it now and then tell you basically if it's better if they are in season. But without season, even if it's on the correct turf, it takes about 150 to even 200 days, because I was redoing it. It seems like it's on a different timer. It was kind of changing, but either way, it's over 2 years to grow these trees on the correct turf. So it's kind of nutty. You probably are only going to want to grow them in the right season. So on the correct turf, I just skipped 15 days. The nightberry tree, the night vision tree, grew to the sapling stage, and so I will update you again when it is fully grown. I'll tell you how many days it took. So it took another 150, 160 days to grow the tree. The issue with it being grown in winter is it doesn't grow the entire winter. I basically went through the entire winter, and it still didn't grow to max through that winter. So while it does grow faster in winter, it doesn't actually grow in the other seasons faster. So even though it's growing faster in winter, it'll basically slow down once it gets to spring. And then you have to wait spring, summer, autumn, and then in winter it'll speed up again. So basically if winter wasn't a season at all, it would take even longer. So basically the 160 days I was testing out is in consideration of winter growth time. So it seems like they just take too long. Having a tree take 2 years to grow. It takes 20 days to turn into a sapling to even figure out what type of tree it is. Then it takes 150 to 200 days to grow into an actual tree. And then each time you can pick the tree is every 25 days. So it takes 25 days to pick from this. I actually didn't even do this from the timer. When I was testing it yesterday, okay, hold on. When I was testing this yesterday, I just estimated and it looks like it actually is 25. So stuff on it only grows every 25 days. To be fair though, this stuff is very strong. Each berry gives you about night vision for an entire day, so that is very good for Lagman's clearing and stuff like that. But the fact that the trees take so long to grow is absurd, and I tested it with tree jam. You can put tree jam on the fully grown tree. It doesn't affect how often the fruit grows, and you can't even put the tree jam on the mini sapling, so there's nothing you can do to make it grow faster no matter the season. It just takes even longer if it's not on the right turf. So if you want it to grow longer than 2 years, then you should plant it on things that aren't the right turf. For this tree, however, it likes to grow during summer, but it will affect much, and I will check back then. Here we go. Again, 20 days it took for this to grow into the sapling. When it is the sapling, you can dig it up, by the way, and you can relocate it. That way you can at least put all the trees together if you want to make a farm of them. So it seems like if you start it at the right start of the season, it is the fastest you can get something of the tree to grow. This one took 120 days to grow, which is just short of 2 years. Still insane, I think, to me, for it to take that long to grow. But basically, I can showcase this. It only happened at nighttime. But for these will grow, and you can pick them at night, and it gives you complete night vision. It makes you groggy for a little bit, and it plays this weird noises that I don't really like. It's kind of loud, but night vision is insane. This is some of the best night vision we've ever had. Like, you can see everything. So it's better than even the Celestial Champion crown, but I don't know if you want to be surviving on just these. The Geo trees are something different though. The Geo trees grow these things, and they're basically gems inside of it. All you have to do is leave it next to a fire pit, warm it up, and gems will pop out. So we'll see here in a second. And so as you can see here, basically you put them in front of something warm, and they will open. And then I'm just gonna hold them all in my inventory so you can see basically the ratios. This is 100 of them right here, or 130. Let me get rid of 30, so it's actually just 100. So you can actually have, this is 100 right here. It's not based off that. Here we go. Sped up time. And then we put it back to 1. So this is 100 gems. Yes, you can get, everyone thought it was going to be red and green gems, but you can actually get every different type of gem here, which is insane. Late game extra gem farming, which should be nice. Out of 100, 9 were green gems. That's pretty great. But 9, 7 yellow, and 11 orange. These are basically the special ruins loot ones, so it's kind of crazy. You can now grow gems on a tree. That's pretty nutty, although having to take 2 years to grow the tree and then you get 3 of them every 25 days seems like it's not going to be very much worth it unless you get tons of them. And that's the other thing I need to cover, is how you get the seeds in the first place. The sunken chests. So if I spawn in the sunken chests and I break them, it won't actually drop loot because these are like versions. However, yesterday on stream, I went out and actually got 5 chests. And out of the 5 chests I got, the first 4 dropped 0 of the ancient seeds. Absolutely nothing. I got nothing. And then on the 5th one, I got 1 seed. So out of 5 chests that I searched, I got 1 of these seeds, and it was a geo tree. The slight things that they added to help with this is that you can have 10 active treasure hunts going on at once. It used to be 4, so the 10 active treasure hunts will help, but they definitely need to increase the spawn chance of the seeds. Now the other thing that you can find inside of the other thing you can find, oh my goodness, it does not like me be on the boat. The other thing you can find inside of the chest is an ancient boat, and this basically has more health. As you can see, it has 400, which I believe is double what the boats usually have, and it has a huge space, 16 slots of extra storage. So it is going to be probably the best boat and the boat you're going to want to be running all the time, which is kind of a shame because we only have a few boat skins, and now those boat skins are not going to transfer over to the old boat. So that's just me. I like skins. This is still a very good boat. And since you're definitely going to be wanting to use it all the time, but it just means those skins won't really get much use. The other thing that they added is bootlegs that you get from the Frost Jaw. I can now stack up to 10, so that is a great change. So because before they would stack up to 1, this also means it can be stacked up infinitely inside the big chests. And if you trade with him enough, he will give you a new figure sketch. Although this is a fake one, I'll just show you the statue. These are what the 3 Frost Jaw sketches look like. They actually look really cool. I like the glass one and the marble one probably the most, but I usually like those statues the most anyways, so that doesn't really say much. So finally, I'm just going to list off the other quality of life changes that are in the patch that are not really worth showing, but they are there. Actually, one thing that is worth showing is the new salt lick. They actually added a salt lick that's made of salt, and it's basically just a better salt lick than before. It's called the gourmet salt lick. It lasts way longer, and it's way better for your beefalo. I think a huge quality of life change they could make for this is make it so instead of having to break it and replace it, you can just rebuild it and add more salt to it, because it is a huge pain trying to like set a beefalo pen that's really well designed and then having to make space to rebuild it, because building the smaller or the bigger room first and replacing it has always been better. But they did say in this update they're going to make building priority a bit easier so you can place more stuff, but I think this would still be a good change. Okay, the final list of stuff is they made it so stingers now stack. Cannons will no longer hit structures and walls on the same boat it was fired from, so you can put walls on your boat and they won't get damaged by the cannon, which is pretty interesting. Obviously the bootleg stacks up to 10 we already covered. Also made it so the treasure hunts can be 10 from 4. I mentioned that when I was going over the treasure chests. They also increased the message in a model's chance to reveal a treasure hunt mark. So this whole update seems like they really want us to go treasure hunting, which I don't mind because more reason to be in the ocean is good, especially if you want to farm those trees. Seems like you're going to need a lot of treasure chests to get a huge amount of these trees, considering I went through 5 treasure chests and only got 1 seed. You're probably going to need to go through like treasure chests, so that'll be the new meta, I guess. They also made it so Crab King now drops the message in a bottles when he dies, so we have a reason to farm Crab King. We farm Crab King to get the message in a bottles. That way we can have more bottles to trade with Pearl, but also more treasure chests to get the seeds. So maybe Crab King will be the best way to farm that stuff. Salt formations no longer block you when you mine them down, they just go underwater. We discussed that in my previous video. I'll probably link that up here now. Increased Malbatross's attack range, boat push force, and attack wave speed. So they basically nerfed Malbatross to make her easier to kill. And on top of that, they also made her, the Narwhal, and Skitter Squids spawn a lot more often, which is great because the Narwhal is very cute, and they also buffed the loot drop that the Narwhal has. The Strident Trident now has more uses and does more damage. So now you're actually going to want to farm Narwhals. They also nerfed the Rock Draw's damage from 50 down to 20, I believe. I was hit by one yesterday. I think it was 20, but it could have been because I had some sort of armor on, so don't quote me on that. They also made it so the Merm King's buff will now apply anywhere in the world, including the caves, so Wurt memes will be eating with the ruins clears now. They also made it so pirate bandanas and the Captain Tricorn and Polly Rogers hat now have waterproofness, and they believe those are most of the ocean stuff. Some of the side QOL stuff they buffed were the fish and fig based crockpot dishes now are better. So if you are going to be a person who likes fish based food and the very rare fig recipes, they made them even better. So maybe they would actually be worth like eating, because before they were very rare to make. Like you need a fig and a cool elephant trunk, and like the stat wasn't even that good. So I don't know what the stats are compared to the other one because I never used them before, so it's not going to be easy for me to compare them. I'm sure you'll be able to feel the effects in the future. Also, this is from the hotfix that they did 8 hours ago. They removed the explosion from the Skeeter Bomb, which is the Mosquito Bomb. They made it so Winona's highlight skill tree intensity has been lowered, and they also added the HUD for the rose-colored glasses, although the recording I did today earlier was already with that new HUD, so that won't really affect you guys. We're able to inspect anything to get Nightmare Fuel and Pure Horror. However, I was only inspecting the Ancient Gateway and the Pseudoscience stations to get Pure Horror anyways, but it looks like you can only examine specific types of things that have some Charlie or Shadow connection. That's what they say in the patch notes, so now you're only going to be able to do that to things that are related to Charlie. So scanning the rows, for example, Pseudoscience station is Shadow connected, stuff like that will give you more things like that. They also made it so you can get big morsels now from just any fish. But I think it's only a slight chance, so it really depends on the type of fish. They also made it so Fragile Rose is not stackable, so you're not going to be able to just hold on to a bunch of Fragile Roses to get infinite resurrection. But those are mainly all the changes in the beta. The other stuff that was shown by the devs, like the Crab King fight, I didn't really get to showcase as much today, but I have it in my previous video, and I'm going to have that as a little card in the top, so you can go check it out there. But I think that's all for that I need to showcase. This is pretty much everything. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. I didn't want it to be about an hour, so hopefully, like, there's an hour of footage in here, so I cut it down, and it will hopefully be a lot shorter and more informative than that. I was kind of exploring stuff, and I thought I knew everything, and I was trying to explain it in my own way, but I discovered stuff I didn't know along the way, so it kind of halted the process, and I was learning a bit more. All of this guide is basically just entirely me testing stuff yesterday, so everything I know that I'm showcasing here was me spending 5-6 hours yesterday on stream just testing out the beta and figuring out what all the new stuff was. Like, it took me an hour to figure out how to do the Fragile Rose thing with Charlie, because I knew it made it so she watches over you, but so I was giving the Fragile Rose to a bunch of different people thinking that it would start some sort of like bite, and then I eventually was just like, oh wait, I can't die to the darkness. I figured that out. So you can into getting killed by Charlie with it on. And then I also figured out if you die, you get resurrected by the flower. And that took me like an hour just to figure that out myself. And obviously I checked the forums the next day and I saw a few people posting some stuff. But for the most part, this was all stuff that I figured out. So if I don't have everything covered, hopefully not too of a point, but if you do have anything, you can just post it in the comments below, and then I'll pin the important things so other people can see it if they're very curious about the other things I haven't mentioned in the video.